Well, hey y'all, welcome to my back deck, my outdoor kitchen, if you will. We're gonna try something new today. I've never done this before. It's called apple pie baked beans. I've had them before, I've never fixed them before. And before you say apple pie baked beans, as Mom always used to say, don't knock it till you tried it. Now, here's what you're gonna need. You're gonna need a couple of cans of baked beans, the 28-ounce baked beans. This is gonna make a lot of baked beans, but you're gonna love them, okay? And everybody else is too. So two cans of this. I'm using Bush's Best, the country style. That's because it's got some bacon and extra brown sugar in it already. We're gonna drain these before we start mixing together, mainly because we're gonna be adding our own moisture as we go along. Next up, you're gonna need some breakfast sausage. I'm using Jimmy Dean regular, a pound of breakfast sausage. If you like something else, country pleasing or any other ones, you can use that. I'm gonna go with regular. You do what you want to do. If you want it a little more spicy, get you some hot. Obviously, we're gonna need some apple pie filling. 1 can of apple pie filling. This is just the 21-ounce can. You can go with what you want. It's just regular old Walmart, great value. You're gonna want a pepper. You can use green pepper. I'm using red. And an onion. We're gonna dice all this stuff up and mix it all together, along with some barbecue sauce. Not a lot, but some barbecue sauce. About a tablespoon or so, or some mustard. Gotta have some of the W sauce. A little bit of that as well sprinkled in. And also some of your favorite barbecue powder. I love using the Meat Church Holy Voodoo. It's tremendous on anything that's pork related. Try this stuff if you can. All right, so we're going to get started on that. We're going to actually make the sausage and all of the fixings here. We're going to put that together, and we're going to cook this all up on the griddle over here, and then we're going to cook it all the way through using the Traeger pellet grill a little bit later on. So let's get started, shall we? All right, so we've got everything chopped up. We've got the onions here. We've got some the red bell pepper here. And of course, we've got our breakfast sausage, even though it's not chopped up, it's all ready to go on the griddle. I've got it up and running and hot. I'm gonna put this little bit of canola oil on it, not much, just a little bit, just to kind of get things going. We'll smooth that out. All right, first things first is we're gonna put the breakfast sausage on there, and we'll just throw it on there like that. And we will chop it up, get it going. Oh man, it already smells good. Yeah, let's just go a little bit faster. Now you could already have this pulled apart if you wanted to. And you know what, you don't even have to use the canola oil. Or any other oil for that matter. So we're going to brown this. And while we're browning this, we probably could already get the Traeger going too. We wanted Traeger's about 220, 225. I mean, everything's going to be pretty much cooked, right? I mean, we're going to brown this breakfast sausage as well as the onions and the peppers and everything. So they'll already pretty much be cooked through by the time we add them to the baked beans, but we want to have everything kind of heat all the way through. The beans obviously have to heat through. The sauces that we're going to add to it, the mustard, the barbecue sauce, and all the W sauce, the Worcestershire, it's got all kind of cook all through too. So that kind of lets it go. You know, you can let it go for a couple of hours if you want to. Really, all you really need to do is just get it heat through. That's once it goes on the grill. So we got that to go first. We're going to add the onions. Time for the red pepper. You can use green pepper if you like. This is just old sweet, just regular old red pepper. And I use a sweet onion. Again, you can use whatever kind of onion you want. It doesn't have to be necessarily sweet. If Vidalia onions are still in season, I'd use the Vidalia onion, but unfortunately, that's not in season, so. Oh man, I wish you could smell this because it really smells good already, and we haven't even gotten to the bean part yet. Okay, so we've gotten everything off of the griddle now. We've got actually got two little helpings of the sausage with the onions and the peppers. It's been sauteing, grilling, and browning on the griddle. You probably can hear a fan noise in the background. That's my Traeger. It's warming up to temperature. Again, we're going to get to about 225 or so. There's one other trick that you can try with this. I'm not going to do it here in this particular cook, but you can, and that is to add bacon to this. And I'll show you that in just a second without actually doing it. But first, we've got the Bush's baked beans, two of them bad boys. We're going to pour them in here. I'm using a mixing bowl instead of a pot, mainly because I don't have a pot that is big enough for the baked beans, and at the same time can go on my Traeger, if you know what I mean. It's one of those deals where I'm kind of caught in between sizes. So I'm using the mixing bowl here. This is actually kind of a bowl that you could use as a wok, or I don't know, it's stir fry or something along those lines. So we did that. Now we're going to add our meat. Both of those in there. I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. All right, that's what we got right now. We're going to kind of mix it around a little bit. That's an awful lot of meat. Wow, that's going to be good. Oh man, this is almost, oh, I can't begin to tell you how good this smells already, and it hasn't even gone on the grill yet. So we got all that, and again, I'm using the Bush's Best country style, which has already got some brown sugar in it. You can add more brown sugar, which is, I'm going to do that here in just a minute. But you can also go with molasses if you prefer. It's up to you what you want to do, right? So anyway, so we got all that in there. Here's the coup de grace, right? The apple pie filling. We're just going to dump the whole thing in there, sauce and all. And yeah, I realize that it is entire slices of apple, but we're going to get all of that goodness in there. All of that in there. This is what we also, like I mentioned, we drained the baked beans because we're adding an awful lot of moisture already. So we're going to kind of knead that in a little bit. This is already smelling so good. Absolutely fantastic smell. And I don't even have the best olfactory senses in the world, but this really smells good. That sausage is tremendous. All right, so now we're going to add a little bit of barbecue sauce. You can add whatever kind of barbecue sauce you like. I prefer using Sweet Baby Ray's, just the regular. If you want to kick it up a little bit, make it a little hotter, you can use a chipotle kind of sauce or a spicy sauce. Again, I'm just using old regular. And you know what? You do what you want. How much you want? I mean, you could do the whole bottle if you wanted to. I don't know that it needs quite that much, but you got a pretty good little bit in there. There's what she looks like now with the apples mixed in and the barbecue sauce. You might not think mustard, but mustard's a great little thing just to kick it up just a little bit more. It's not hot, it just gives it a little bit extra seasoning to it. And we're not going to put a whole lot of mustard in, about a tablespoon. And I'm going to guess. There, that's good. And now, once again, we're going to knead all this together. Try not to slop it all over my workstation here. Oh, it's so good. I just want to take a spoonful of it right now to sample it, but I'm going to hold off. All right, so we want a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Again, you got to have a little of the W. I usually use Heinz. You can use whatever kind of Worcestershire sauce you want. You don't have to use any at all if you don't want to. Just a little bit. That's enough. Just a splash in there. Just, again, to give it a little extra oomph. Now, one other thing that I've seen a lot of people do, and I wouldn't think about doing this, but every batch of this apple pie baked beans that I've had has had some sort of dry rub seasoning that you put on barbecue. Again, I mentioned I like the Holy Voodoo from Meat Church. It's good stuff. You might want to try that. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot. Just a sprinkle in there, just enough to cover it up, just to give it, again, a little bit of kick. And again, the Voodoo has got just a little bit of a little bit of a bite to it, not much. So it's not overly spicy. Again, you're gonna mix that in. These are really gonna be good. And one last thing that I didn't really mention when I was going through all the ingredients earlier on is brown sugar. Now you don't have to add any more brown sugar if you don't want to. I really like sweet baked beans. I really do. So, and since they're all for me, because my wife doesn't like baked beans at all. She doesn't like the texture. She doesn't like anything about them. She doesn't like really breakfast sausage much. I really don't know why I married her, other than the fact that she's, you know, pretty sweet lady. But other than that, this isn't a whole lot of brown sugar. This is just some. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead. There we go. Again, just some brown sugar in there. And again, we're going to knead it all through. And that's pretty much it. Now we're going to make sure that we mix it all the way through really well. And then I'm going to put this into a couple of baking pans, roasting pans actually. Because again, as I said, I don't have a Dutch oven that's big enough to fit onto my Traeger. That's big enough to hold all this, but it ends up being too big for the Traeger. So I'm going to go with a roasting pan, and it's perfectly okay. You're going to leave it uncovered. So next step is to put this on the Traeger. All right, so I got the beans all now in this pot. I'm sorry I'm having to stoop a little bit because the camera angle is a little wonky here, but I wanted to show you putting them on the Traeger. Now, you might ask yourself, Tom, why didn't you just go ahead and put the beans and go ahead and mix them all in here? Well, I mean, it's a little bit on the flimsy side. I didn't want to puncture it or anything like that, so I wanted to do the mixing and everything into a bowl before I put it on the Traeger. Again, 225. You can do this on a regular barbecue grill, just kind of make it low heat. You can cook it hotter if you want to. That's certainly a definite possibility. It makes it quicker. But the lower heat, obviously you get more smoke. That's kind of a secret as well. You want a little bit of that smoke flavor in here. I use kind of a weird pellet, a combination that includes hickory and pecan, as well as some oak and even some apple. So it's all kind of a combination. This is going to be fantastic. We're going to put it on this Traeger. Again, at 225 is what I have it set at. Set it in the middle, set it and forget it. Let it cook for an hour, maybe two. You really can't overcook it per se, but again, probably going to check back in about an hour and see how we're going. So we've had the beans on the Traeger here for about 45 minutes. You see there's a nice smoke coming up from underneath the hood and all. That's what we want. We want it nice, low and slow, but we want to heat those beans all the way through. You can tell that it's gotten dark, so it's been a while since we've checked on this. I really haven't checked on it too much. Let's go ahead and go and see how we're doing. Oh, those look good, don't they? Don't they look good? We're going to go ahead and stir that a little bit. Now I mentioned a little earlier that you could do some bacon with this as well. Now how you do that is you take another rack and put it in here on top of it. Then you put strips of bacon on top of the rack, let the bacon drippings render through onto your beans, and then as the bacon cooks, once it gets crispy, you break it up and you throw that in there as well. I didn't do it on this cook. I may try it on a future cook just to see how it all turns out, but so far, so good. We'll check back here in probably about another 45 minutes or so. We should have beans ready for the table. All right, so the beans have been on the Traeger for a couple of hours now at 225. I brought them off, let them cool a little bit. They certainly are plenty hot. Now it's time for the taste test to see if our creation bears fruit, so to speak. We get a little bit of everything here. A little bit of apple, sausage, beans, which is good and hot. That dog will hump. Try this. I guarantee you, you're not going to be disappointed. Apple pie baked beans.